Consumers want a better quality and service from their network providers in 2017. The 2016 Data Must Fall campaign made many users aware of the exorbitant data costs. Network providers promised to do better in the coming year.
Many of our lives now revolve and rely heavily on communication, using cellular phones and other gadgets. The most common form being social media services like WhatsApp, Facebook, and of course, the good old SMS and email. 1 billion people now use the WhatsApp service in 109 countries, sending an average of 42 billion messages daily. This means that people use the internet and require data far more frequently than they used to. South Africans rely on their network providers for reliable and cost-effective data prices. We asked a few people about their experience with their network providers and the service they received in 2016, and what they'd like to see done better in 2017.
What I experience is that I find it hard for me to actually last a bit of time with data that's actually for $10. Like sometimes your network provider could actually say, okay, you bought airtime for 10, you bought 10 rand airtime and then you transfer it into data and it's like 50 megs. Within a split second, it's done, it's gone.
Okay, I'm on MTN, but my problem with them is I feel like sometimes the network is not that strong. It's not as weak as LC, but it's not that strong in some places, like in Limpopo. And the worst thing is data prices. I feel like that's everyone's problem.
It's absolutely expensive. It's a great network, but it's absolutely expensive. And they must tell you when they're about to finish your data so that they don't go right through to your airtime. It's absolutely expensive. I think when they do this stuff, they must consider that there's people that work, students, and people that don't work.
I'm not happy about the service that I'm using. So next time they must improve the rates. The charge rates, they must be standard, not like too much, so that we must afford it. Because we use that data to find information on the internet.
Yeah, everything else is fine though. It's because my network provider is quick to react. When you have a problem, they react quickly. They help you. It's the data that's the problem.
I would appreciate it if in 2017 they could structure free calling minutes to count like they should, because I rely on those to try and find work.
Can they please change the prices? It's too high. Data is expensive and we're students, and then, the student life is also expensive.
Mbonge is a senior research analyst at Ovum. She says the high cost of data is not only a problem for South Africa. Mbonge says in our quest for lower data prices, it is important to remember to consider business cost implications.
We have to take into account that the operators have also invested in new equipment or more advanced equipment to do so. So that's also a constant expenses that they are making in order to provide the services and to carry on providing future services to the consumer. So there is the cost of equipment, there is taxation as well that has to be taken into account. Obviously, the companies pay tax, so that's probably part of their margin, their cost of operating the network.
By users, what is the response from network providers, and how has the year been for these companies? Vodacom says its biggest achievement for the year is the strong growth in its subscriber base. 1.5 million new customers were added in the first half of the current financial year. This saw its active customers reach 35.7 million in South Africa. This feat, it says, was underpinned by its strategy of maintaining its best network advantage. At its rival MTN headquarters, Chief Executive Mteto Nyati acknowledges that in 2016 it was a very difficult year, but that didn't come as a surprise.
We knew going in that we were going to have a difficult year, where we had taken the time to go and listen to our customers about some of the challenges that they are facing with our business. And for me, it is important that we have to have those open communication channels with our customers, always calibrate where we are so that we continue to be relevant to them. And going in, we had identified really a number of areas. One was a number of our customers felt that our network was not necessarily at the right level when it comes to things like dropped calls, things like the speeds were not the right ones, and maybe when we're trying to set up a call, it takes a long time. It used to take a long time, and we decided to focus on 8 key cities, and that's what we did. If you look at it now, where we are now, we are at a point where in all of those 8 areas, we are either at the same level as our best competitor or we're number 1.
As calls for lower data rates grow louder, how are MTN and Vodacom responding to them? Vodacom says its data prices have been coming down by about 20% over the past 3 years. It says last year, the average price paid for data was reduced by almost 14%. In a 4-year period, this would be a 65% reduction. Nyati agrees and says data prices have been falling for a while now.
Data has been falling from the word go. If you look at us at MTN over the last 5 years, data prices have come down about 73%. The same thing as the SMS prices, 50-something%. So data has been falling and it continues to fall. And we are in the only space where I can tell you that the prices have been falling. If you go to bread, you go to milk, and to look at any of those items, they have been increasing. So we hear what our customers are saying. We continue to find ways of doing it. And one of those ways is to get enough spectrum.
What, though, from service providers is the need for adequate spectrum. Vodacom says the need for the allocation of high-demand spectrum can never be overstated, since it means having to build significantly fewer base stations. This, it says, frees up capital expenditure and reduces costs, the benefit of which can be passed on to the consumer.
The impact, for example, when you look at it to the consumer, dropped calls, it's the network. The speeds are not fast, it's the network. The quality of the network, no, it's the problem. No. If you look at it to go deeper, we get the spectrum, almost all of those problems are going to be solved. On top of that, we're also going to be able to get better prices.
With only a few days left before we usher in 2017, Teklambonge says, come 2017, she expects digital services to continue to grow. It is anticipated that the cost of data will continue declining, albeit at a slower rate.
They can expect us rolling out our stores throughout the country, and because last year we focused largely on the 8 cities, we are going to be focusing now from a network perspective the rest of the country. So the rest of the country should expect to have a network from MTN that is much lower dropped calls, higher speeds, and also a network that is very reliable.
Vodacom concludes that it will continue to spend more on infrastructure, which it believes is its competitive advantage. Furthermore, it says it will fast-track the implementation of its customer care program. This program concentrates on customer experience and operational effectiveness. Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.